Hello, students. How are you all? I hope all of you are fine and in good health. Today, I will be doing the lesson The Selfish Giant, written by Oscar Wilde. Before beginning with the lesson, I'd like to give you an introduction to Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde was an Irish poet and playwright. After writing in different forms throughout the 1880s, the early 1890s saw him become one of the most popular playwrights in London. He was born on the 16th of October 1854 and he passed away on the 30th of November 1900. Some of his short stories are The Canterville Ghost, The Selfish Giant, The Remarkable Rocket, and many more. Okay, so now let us read and understand what this wonderful lesson is all about. The Selfish Giant by Oscar Wilde. The giant's the giant's garden was beautiful and children loved to play in it. The giant, who was selfish, built a high wall round his lovely garden. Children did not enter the garden thereafter, nor did spring and summer till the giant experienced a change of heart. So, in short, this story is about a giant who was very selfish. He had a huge house and a wonderful garden, but he was so selfish that he didn't allow little children to play in it. And as a result, not only did the children stop coming, but even nature was very annoyed at him, and all the flowers, the birds, and even all the seasons stopped coming to his garden until he had a change of heart. So let us read this really wonderful lesson and understand what it has to say to us. Every afternoon, as they were coming from school, the children used to go and play in the giant's garden. It was a large, lovely garden with soft green grass. Here and there, over the grass, stood beautiful flowers like stars, and there were 12 peach trees that in the springtime broke out into delicate blossoms of pink and pearl, and in the autumn bore rich fruit. The birds sat on the trees and sang so sweetly that the children used to stop their games in order to listen to them. How happy we are here, they cried to each other. One day the giant came back. He had been to visit his friend, the Cornish ogre, and had stayed with him for 7 years. When he arrived, he saw the children playing in the garden. "What are you doing here?" he cried in a very gruff voice, and the children ran away. So, as we can see, children, here there is a giant who has a big house and an even bigger garden, and this giant has gone to visit his friend, that is a Cornish ogre. Ogre is like another big, it says, a giant of Cornwall in the United Kingdom. United Kingdom is England, Scotland, and Wales all put together. And ogre in legends, that means these are fairy stories. This is all a figment of the author's imagination. They really do not exist. So, an ogre is a cruel giant who eats people. And, he's a very frightening person. And the meaning of the word gruff is rough or surly, somebody who's very rude. So here, children used to come and play there in that garden every day. As they came from school, they used to go and play there. And it was a large, lovely garden. It had soft green grass. And over the grass, there were beautiful flowers like stars shining in the sky. And there were 12 peach trees. That means the children must have helped themselves to all the fruit that the peach trees gave them. And in the springtime, there were beautiful blossoms of pink and pearl. That means creamish in color and pink color. And in the autumn, it bore very rich fruit. The birds sat on the trees, they sang beautifully. And the children, while playing there, they used to stop playing just to listen to the sweet singing of the birds. And they were indeed very, very happy. But one day everything changed. The giant who had gone to visit his friend and had lived there for 7 years came back to his home. And when he arrived, he was furious. He saw children playing in the garden, And so he scolded them. He said, "What are you doing here?" And in a very rough and rude voice. And so the children, who were very frightened, they all ran away. Then, now here you can see the giant looking at all these children and wondering that how is it these children have come here without permission. So he seems to be very furious at them, and the children are so afraid of him that he's so big, huge, and so they run away in fear. "My own garden is my own garden," said the giant. "Anyone can understand that, and I will allow nobody to play in it but myself." So he built a high wall all around it and put up a notice board: "Trespassers will be prosecuted." He was a very selfish giant. The poor children had now nowhere to play. They tried to play on the road, but the road was very dusty and full of hard stones, and they did not like it. They used to wander around the high walls when their lessons were over and talk about the beautiful garden inside. "How happy we were there," they said to each other. Then the spring came, and all over the country there were little blossoms and little birds. Only in the garden of the selfish giant it was still winter. The birds did not care to sing in it. Okay, so children, here, as we can see, when the giant came, he was so annoyed at finding the children there trespassing in his garden. So he scolded them and he said, "My garden is my own garden, and anyone can understand that I will not allow anyone to play in it. This is only for myself." And so he built a huge wall to make sure no one would get in. And he put a big notice board saying that trespassers would be prosecuted. That means they would be, anyone coming without permission would be punished. And the reason he did this was because he was very, very selfish. He was not at all generous, and he didn't want to share his beautiful garden with anyone. So the poor children now, because he had, built a big wall, high wall around it, so they couldn't get into the garden. And so they tried to play elsewhere on the road, but the road was very dusty and it had a lot of hard stones, and they didn't like that experience. So they used to wander all around the garden and look at those high walls when their lessons were over, and they used to talk about those happy days that they had spent in the giant's garden for 7 years when he was away from home. And they, they kept on reminiscing about how, what a happy time they had there. They said, "Oh, what a wonderful time we had when the giant was not there." And as they kept talking about the happy days they had spent there, spring came, and all over the country there were small little blossoms and little birds everywhere. But in the garden of the selfish giant, it was still winter because of his nature, because he had, because of the way he was. He was so very selfish and rude. So even birds did not want to sing in it. Neither did spring want to come and visit. Now, over here, the meaning of trespassers is those who enter without permission, and prosecuted is they would be tried in a court of law. That means they would be punished. Then, the children and the trees forgot to blossom, but once a beautiful flower put its head out from the grass. But when it saw the notice board, it was so sorry for the children that it slipped back into the ground again and went off to sleep. The only people who were pleased were the snow and the frost. "Spring has forgotten this garden," they cried, "so we will live here all the year round." The snow covered up the grass with a great white cloak, and the frost painted all the trees silver. Then they invited the north wind to stay with them, and he came. He was wrapped in furs, and he rode all day about the garden and blew the chimney pots down. "This is a delightful spot," he said. "We must ask Hail on a visit." So the Hail came. Every day for 3 hours he rattled on the roof of the castle till he broke most of the slates, and then he ran round and round the garden as fast as he could go. He was dressed in grey, and his breath was like ice. "I cannot understand why the spring is so late in coming," said the selfish giant, as he sat at the window and looked out of his cold white garden. "I hope there will be a change in the weather." Okay, so Let us go back to the new words, the meaning of snow, frost, north wind, and hail. So, as we can see here, snow, frost, north wind, and hail, all these have been presented as characters or persons. So, it is personification. The north wind is a chilly, very cold wind, and hail is a hailstorm. Like you have pieces of, like, ice falling, and that's hail. And linnet is a brownish songbird found in Europe. Casement is a window that opens on hinges like a door. So over here, as we can see, that the children were very sad that they couldn't enter the garden. But not only were they sad, spring also didn't want to come and visit the giant's garden. And once a beautiful flower put its head out of the grass, but when it saw the notice board, it was so sorry for the children that it went back into the ground and went off to sleep. And the only people who were happy were the snow and the frost. They saw that, oh, spring doesn't want to come here. So now this spring has forgotten this garden. So we will live here all year round. Now this place belongs to us. And so the snow covered up the grass with a great white cloak, and the frost painted the trees silver. So everything was nice and white. Then they invited the north wind to come and stay with them. And he did come. He was wrapped in furs and he rode all day round the garden. And he said, "This is a wonderful place." He said, "Now we must ask Hale for a visit." And so Hale came. And every day for almost 3 hours, he rattled on the roofs and broke most of the slates, that is, all the tiles. And he ran round and round and round. And he was dressed in grey, and his breath was like ice. And this poor selfish giant sat inside the house because it was freezing cold outside, so he couldn't come and sit out in the garden. So he sat there and he looked out of the window and he saw the cold white garden and he wondered, why is it that there isn't a change in the weather? But we will continue reading. Spring never came, nor the summer. The autumn gave golden fruit to every garden, but to the giant's garden she gave none. He is too selfish, she said, so it's always winter there. And the north wind and the hail and the frost and the snow danced about through the trees. One morning the giant was lying awake in bed when he heard some lovely music. It sounded so sweet to his ears that he thought it must be the king's musicians passing by. It was really only a little linnet singing outside his window, but it was so long since he had heard a bird singing that it seemed to him to be the most beautiful music in the world. Then the hail stopped dancing over his head, and the north wind ceased roaring, and a delicious perfume came to him through the open casement. "I believe the spring has come at last," said the giant. Okay, so let us go back to where we stopped. So when the giant sat there and wondered that there was spring all around, and why hasn't spring come to my garden? And he hoped for a change in the weather. But neither did spring come nor the summer, and autumn gave golden, wonderful, delicious fruit to every garden. But to the giant's garden she gave none. She said, "He's too selfish." So it was always winter. The north hail, the north wind, the hail, the frost, and the snow, all of them danced about, and they had a nice time in the giant's garden. One morning, while the giant was lying awake in bed, since he couldn't go out, he heard some lovely music and he thought, "Oh wow, the king's musicians are passing by." But then when he looked out, he saw it wasn't any musicians. It was just a little bird singing outside his window. But it had been such a long time that he heard any bird sing that he mistook it for the king's musicians. And then, since one little bird had dared to come and sing, then the hail stopped dancing all over his head, and then the north wind stopped roaring, and a delicious perfume came through the open casement, that means through the open windows. And then the giant said, "Oh wow, I believe the spring has come out at last." And he jumped out of his bed and he looked outside. Then he saw the most wonderful sight. Through a little hole in the wall, The children had crept in and they were sitting in the branches of the trees. In every tree that he could see, there was a little child, and the trees were so glad to have the children back that they had covered themselves with blossoms and were waving their arms gently. So then, when the giant woke up and got out of bed, then he saw a most wonderful sight. He couldn't believe his eyes. Through a little hole in the wall, small, tiny little children crept in and they were sitting in the branches of the trees. In every tree, there was a little child. The trees were so happy to have the children back that they covered themselves with blossoms, that means flowers, and they waved their arms gently. Here, we can see the giant looking at all the children. Above the children's heads, the birds were flying about and twittering with delight, and the flowers were looking up through the green grass and laughing. It was a lovely scene. Only in one corner it was still winter. It was the farthest corner of the garden, and in it was standing a little boy. He was so small that he could not reach up to the branches of the tree, and he was wandering all around it crying bitterly. The poor tree was still covered with frost and snow, and the north wind was blowing and roaring above it. Climb up, little boy, said the tree, and it bent its branches down as low as it could. But the boy was too tiny, and the giant's heart melted as he looked out. How selfish I have been, he said. Now I know why the spring would not come here. I will put that poor little boy on the top of the tree, and then I will knock down the wall, and my garden shall be the children's playground for ever and ever. He was really very sorry for what he had done. So when the selfish giant, woke up and he looked into the garden, he was amazed at the sight that he saw. He saw children, sitting in the branches of the trees. He saw beautiful blossoms, flowers, and the trees were blooming with wonderful flowers, and there were birds chirping. But everywhere there was spring. But he saw in the farthest corner of his garden there was still winter, and there was a tree that was all covered with frost and the north wind, and he saw a tiny little boy crying, trying to get into the climb up the tree, but he wasn't able to do it because he was so little. And in fact, the tree was trying to help it. It was trying to bend down its branches in order to help the little boy. But the boy was so little that he wasn't able to climb up. And so at that moment, that sight melted the giant's heart, and he said, "Oh, how selfish I have been! And now I know the reason why spring would not come." He had been waiting for a long time for spring to come to his garden, and then he realized that he was the cause of spring not coming to his garden. And he said, "I will put that little boy on the top of the tree, and then I will go back and I will knock down, I will break down the wall, and my garden shall be the children's playground forever and ever." That means for all time. He was really very sorry for what he had done. So he crept downstairs and opened the front door quite softly and went out into the garden. But when the children saw him, they were so frightened that they all ran away, and the garden became winter again. Only the little boy did not run, for his eyes were so full of tears that he did not see the giant coming. And the giant stole up behind him and took him gently in his hands and put him up into the tree. And the tree broke at once into blossom, and the birds came and sang on it, and the little boy stretched out his two arms and flung them around the giant's neck and kissed him. Okay, children, so then what do we see? We saw that because the giant had a change, he had a change of heart. He realized that on account of his selfishness, all the children were deprived of his wonderful garden. And now that he had allowed, the children had gotten back into the garden, spring also had come along with it. There was beauty all around. There was birds were chirping, children were enjoying. And then he saw that little boy at the farthest corner of the garden, and he wished to go and help him. But when he opened the door and he went out into the garden, all the children saw him and they were afraid once again, and so they all ran away. And the moment the children went away, so did spring, and winter came back again. But the little boy who was at that farthest end of the garden was like, he was crying because he was unable to climb the tree. And so the giant went quickly, quietly behind him, and he took him gently in his arms and he put him up into the tree. And at that moment, the tree at once broke out into blossoms, and birds came and sang. And the little boy was so happy that he stretched out his arms and flung them around the giant's neck and he kissed him. And then uh, all the other children, when they saw that the giant was now not wicked any longer, they came running back, and along with them came the spring. And so the giant said, "It is your garden now, little children," said the giant, and he took the great axe and knocked down the wall. And when the people were going to the market at 12 o'clock, they found the giant playing with the children in the most beautiful garden they had ever seen. All day long they played, and in the evening they came to the giant to bid him goodbye. That means to say goodbye to him. So, here, as we can see, that after the giant had a change of heart, he realized his mistake. He decided to put things right. He decided not only to go and help that little boy, and so he went and helped him. And the boy was so grateful to him that he gave him a big hug and he kissed him. And then the giant took a big axe and he broke down the wall, big high wall that he had built all around the garden. And the moment he did that, all the other birds came and spring came back again. He told the children, "It is your garden now, little children." And then, when people were going to the market, they saw the giant playing with all the children. And the garden was the most beautiful one they had ever seen. So all day long they played, and in the evening they all came to say goodbye to him. And "But where is your little companion?" he said. "The boy I put into the tree. The giant loved him the best because he had kissed him." "We don't know," answered the children. "He has gone away. You must tell him to be sure and come tomorrow," said the giant. But the children said that they did not know where he lived and had never seen him before. And the giant felt very sad. Every afternoon, when school was over, the children came and played with the giant. But the little boy whom the giant loved was never seen again. The giant was very kind to all the children, yet he longed for his little friend and often spoke of him. "How I would like to see him," he used to say. Okay, so then uh, the giant, was so happy playing with the children, and so were all the people passing by, going to the market. The children played with him all day long, and in the evening they came to say goodbye to the giant. And at that time, the giant asked about the little boy whom he had put into that little tree at the farthest corner of the garden. And all the other children said they didn't know who he was. And the giant loved that little boy the most because he had given him a tight hug and kissed him. And the giant told the children to tell him to come back the next day. But the children said that they didn't know where he lived or didn't know who he was. And so every day when school was over, the children came and played with the giant, but the little boy was never seen again. The giant continued being very kind to all the children. He longed for his little friend and often spoke about him. He says, "How I would like to see him," he used to say. He kept remembering about his little friend. He never forgot him. And so, in this manner, years went by, and the giant grew very old and feeble. That means he became very, very weak. He could not play about any more. And so he sat in a huge armchair, an easy chair, and watched the children at their games and admired his garden. "I have many beautiful flowers," he said, "but the children are the most beautiful flowers of all." One winter morning, he looked out of his window as he was dressing. He did not hate the winter now, for he knew it was merely the spring asleep and that the flowers were resting. Suddenly, he rubbed his eyes in wonder and looked and looked. It was certainly a marvelous sight. In the farthest corner of the garden was a tree quite covered with lovely white blossoms. Its branches were golden, its silver fruit hung down from them, and underneath it stood the little boy he had loved. Downstairs ran the giant in great joy, and out into the garden he hastened across the grass and came near to the child. And when he came quite close, his face grew red with anger, and he said, "Who hath dared to wound thee?" For on the palms of the child's hand were the prints of two nails, and the prints of two nails were on the little feet. "Who hath dared to wound thee?" cried the giant. "Tell me, that I may take my big sword and slay him." So, and so many years passed, children. The children came and played, and the giant grew old and very weak, and so he was unable to play with the little children. So what did he do? He sat down in a nice comfortable easy armchair, and he looked at the children playing, and he said, "My garden is beautiful, the trees are beautiful, the birds are beautiful, but the most beautiful are the children in the garden. They are the most beautiful flowers." And one winter morning he looked out of his window, and as he was dressing, he didn't hate the winter, because he understood that every year, when spring goes away and goes off to sleep and all the flowers are asleep, that's the time that winter comes. And so he rubbed his eyes, and he looked and he looked, and he saw a marvelous sight. He saw a tree covered with lovely blossoms, the branches were golden, it had silver fruit, and surprise of surprise, underneath that tree stood the little boy he loved. And so he ran with great joy. He hastened across the grass and came near to the child. And when he came close, his face was red with anger, and he said, "Who has dared to wound thee?" On the palms of the child's hands and feet were the print of two nails. And so, he wanted to know who was it that dared to wound that little child. "Who hath dared to wound thee? Tell me, I may take my big sword and slay him." He wanted to kill the person who dared to put those nail marks in his hands and feet. And the meaning of the word nay means no. "Nay," answered the child, "but these are the wounds of love." "Who art thou?" That means, "Who are you?" said the giant, and a strange awe fell on him, and he knelt before the little child. And the child smiled on the giant and said to him, "You let me play once in your garden. Today you shall come with me to my garden, which is paradise." And when the children ran in that afternoon, they found the giant lying dead under the tree, all covered with white blossoms. So after the giant looked out of the window and saw that tree, he saw the golden branches and the silver fruit, and he saw that little boy whom he loved dearly. So he ran down the stairs, and he went and he saw that in the hands of that little child, in the palms of the little child, there were two nail marks, and on his feet there were nail marks. And so he was very angry and wondered who dared to harm this little child. And then he says, "I will kill that person." But the child said, "No, no, don't do that. These are the wounds of love." And so the giant asked him, "Who are you? Who are you?" And a strange, wonder fell on him, and he knelt before that little child. And the child smiled at him and said, "That once you allowed me to come into your garden. Today you shall come back with me to my garden, which is paradise, and that is heaven." And so, when the children went back that afternoon, they found the giant lying dead under the tree, all covered with white blossoms. So, children, Oscar Wilde is an English uh, author, and all English authors are influenced by the Bible. So, here in this lesson, when he talks about Oscar Wilde talks about the little child who has marks, nail marks in his hand and feet, he's actually talking about Jesus. Jesus was the one who died on the cross for all the people. And so he had those nail marks, but he came, he came to the selfish giant. And when he came to the selfish giant received him into his garden with open arms. And so it was like God coming to his house. And God came to the selfish giant's house, and the selfish giant had received him with warm and open arms. And now, when it was time for the giant, for his life to be over, God came back again to take him back to heaven, because even though he had been wicked, he had been cruel, he had been selfish, but he had a change of heart, and God welcomes all those people who have a change of heart. So, what does this lesson tell us? This lesson tells the story that all people have a lot of selfishness and wrong things in our heart, but it tells us that if we give happiness to others, we can also feel happiness in our life. This selfish giant had a change of heart, and as a result of that, even God was happy with him, and God came back in order to take him to heaven. So let us also not be selfish like the giant, but whatever God has given us, let us share that with people around us, because it is happiness increases by giving, not by holding on to things that we have. So, the more we give, the more happy we will be. So, let us practice giving and sharing with all the people around us. When we see that there are people who don't have and we have a lot of things, so let us learn to be generous and give to others, and God will surely bless us. Now, let us have a look at the question answers of this lesson. The giant saw a most wonderful sight. What did he see, and what did he realize on seeing it? The giant saw that in the garden there were children on every tree, and he realized that spring had not come because of his selfish heart. And so he realized that if he allowed those little children to come into his garden, along with those children came spring, and came beauty, and came happiness, and then came the birds. So he realized that because of his selfishness, he had, like, you know, he had kept away not only his own happiness, because of his selfishness, he had stopped the little children from being happy, and therefore even the seasons were unhappy with him. Why was it still winter in one corner of the garden? It was winter in one corner of the garden because no children had reached there. One little child was trying to climb up into the tree but had not succeeded in reaching there. So, as long as we keep certain corners of our heart, keep certain portions of our heart and not allow others to come in, there will still be winter. So, we need to open up our hearts, open up our lives, and share whatever we have with the people around us. Describe the first meeting of the little boy and the giant. When the giant saw that there were children playing everywhere except for one corner of the garden, he, he saw the little boy trying his best to climb up the tree, but he did not succeed. And so he decided that I will go and help that little boy climb up the tree. And so he runs down the stairs, and that little boy is crying bitterly, so he doesn't see the giant. So the giant picks him up in his arms and carries him, so that, and he was so happy that the giant was about to put him in the tree, that he flung his arms around the giant and gave him a nice kiss. So that was a really beautiful meeting of the little boy and the giant. Describe their second meeting after a long interval. So the first time the giant met the boy, he had a change of heart, and then he broke down the wall. But the second meeting, he missed that little boy for so long, for many years, and yet that little boy never came back. But the second, it was winter time, and then when he looked out, he saw in one corner of the garden there was one tree that was all covered with white. It had golden branches and silver fruit, and he saw that little boy. So he ran down the stairs wanting to go and meet him. And then he realized that this little child had two nail marks on his hands and feet, and so he was very angry. he wanted to kill the person who had given this little child such a lot of pain. And he even told that boy, "Who has done this to you? Tell me, I will kill that person." But that little child smiled and said, "No, these are marks of love. It was God going to the cross willingly. Jesus went and died on the cross of his own free will. And so he didn't want the giant to kill anyone for causing such a lot of pain. He had died willingly." The giant lay dead, all covered with white blossoms. What does this sentence indicate about the once selfish giant? So, this indicates the giant lay dead but covered with white blossoms. That means even the plant, even the tree was so happy with the giant that it covered him with white blossoms. This indicates that the once selfish giant was no longer selfish. He had truly repented. He had, made up, more than made up for all the time that he had been selfish. He had broken down the wall, he had allowed the children to come and play, and he was very kind and generous to all of them. So, this shows that the selfish giant was no longer the selfish giant, but he was a very kind, loving, and a very generous. He had become a generous person. He had a wonderful change of heart. Now, the little child's hands and feet had marks of nails. Who does the child remind you of? Well, this reminds me of Jesus because Jesus was the one who died on the cross, and he is the one who has uh, marks of nails on his hands and feet. Is there something like a garden nearby where you live? Would you like one without the giant, perhaps, and why? And what would you do to keep it in good shape? Now, this is for you to think about it, children, and for you to answer. If there is a garden, then would you like to have a garden like the giant's garden? And why would you like to have that? And what would you do to make sure that it is in good shape? Then, now this is something that you need to think over. Selfless love involves suffering for others. Yes, this saying is very true. When we love anyone, then love always involves suffering. For example, your parents love you a lot and they don't expect anything from you. That is why it's called selfless love, not selfish love, selfless love. They love you so much, no matter how naughty you are, how mischievous you are. You may be good, you may be naughty, you may be lazy, you may do a lot of things that they don't like, and yet they love you. So it involves a lot of suffering. When you are not well, they take care of you, they provide for you, they give you everything that you need. So many a times it involves a lot of suffering for them, financially and mentally, emotionally. But so, selfish love always involves suffering for the sake of others. Selfless love involves a lot of suffering for the sake of others. And another thing is, owning things is human, but sharing them is divine. It is good to own things. All of us have things like, we have houses, we have cars, or you may have toys, or you may have books, or you may have things that you like to have. They are your own and you don't want to share them. But this quality of sharing is divine. That means it is godly. So when you learn to share things that you like with others, that gives you a godly touch. So, children, I hope you have understood this lesson well and that you will read it several times and enjoy the lesson and also put into practice the moral of the story, that it is in giving to others that we receive true happiness and true contentment. And also make sure to write the question answers in your fair book. Thank you and have a nice day.